All right, guys. Garage Gameday Sports is back. I've got some new background behind me. Kind of shifted spots here, so I want to talk about some big stuff going on. It's a pretty eventful weekend in sports. We've got the Final Four going on. MLB Opening Day set to kick off tomorrow. We also have some trade rumors and NFL free agency talks. Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers continue to be at the center of the NFL universe. So I want to dive into all this, but first I want to start with the Final Four. I know it is quite an eventful Final Four. Certainly not the four I envisioned coming to Houston. I had UConn in my bracket. For those of you who had all four teams, raise your hand. Now quickly put them down because I know you're lying. For the first time ever, no ones, no twos, or no threes in the Final Four. We have a 4 seed in UConn, two 5 seeds in Miami and San Diego State, and Florida Atlantic, a 9 seed, the 9th team seeded 9th or worse to make the Final Four. None of them have yet to win a game in the Final Four. The Owls hoping to buck that trend. Tons of storylines here. I love all the coaches, the remarkable jobs that they've all done. Dan Hurley navigating the Huskies after a rough 2-6 start. Not a 2-6 start, but a 8-game stretch during the season in which they went 2-6 in December and January. Coach Hurley able to navigate them through a rough and tough Big East. I know Marquette walked away with a regular season and the tournament title, but they're the last Big East team standing. Played very well, Coach Hurley has, and they just measure very strong as far as metrics go. They were a constant top 10 team in the country by predictive metrics. I just really like the Huskies right now, and they're a big favorite. Vegas has them, I think, at minus 125. So they're a big favorite over the rest of the field to take home the championship. Miami, the job Jim Larrañaga has done. He took that George Mason team a couple of years ago to the Final Four. 17 years in between Final Four appearances for Coach Larrañaga and the Hurricanes, their first ever trip to the Final Four. UConn's the only team, by the way, with Final Four experience. Miami, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, all making their Final Four debuts at the same time in Houston. ACC regular season champ, and I know they didn't take home the ACC conference tournament, but entered as a 5 seed. My bracket actually crashed and burned from the beginning because I had Miami losing to Drake in one of the 5-12 upsets, which seem to happen every year. And not only did none happen this year, we ended up with 2 5 seeds in the Final Four. So for those of you that subscribed like me to the 12-5 upset, you were in for a rude awakening this year. Then you have San Diego State with their suffocating defense. What they've done, holding teams well below their averages from about 15 to 25 points. They've held from Utah State in the Mountain West title game, Charleston in the first round, Furman in the second round, Alabama in the Sweet 16, and Creighton in the Elite 8. They have frustrated and really got after teams offensively, taking away their primary weapons, holding them to season lows. For most cases, that high-powered Alabama offense only allowed 64 and then only gave up 56 to Creighton, which has a ton of scorers on that team, but not nearly the depth that San Diego State has. Florida Atlantic has the depth that San Diego State has, which is why I'm very intrigued in that matchup. They're the first game to kick at about 5 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock my time, in Houston on Saturday evening. Fast, explosive are the Owls. Dusty May's done a remarkable job with those guys. 35-3 on the year. So no matter what happens, and no matter who advances and loses in the Final Four and in the championship game, Florida Atlantic will end the season as the D1 program with the most wins this year. 35-3 right now are the Owls. Dusty May's done a great job. And if you get a chance, by the way, I'm going to post this on my Facebook later. Matt Norlander, who runs the Ion College Basketball Podcast, did a wonderful piece on Dusty May about how he had an emotional breakdown after signing a contract to become the FAU coach, his first ever head coaching gig 5 years ago. His wife and one of his buddies who he coached under in Florida and was a coworker of his at Louisiana Tech kind of coaxed him into staying at Florida Atlantic after he hadn't viewed the facilities there in Boca Raton. He ended up staying, has done a remarkable job, finished 500 in the 5 years he's been there ever since. 101-59 is Dusty May with Florida Atlantic, so definitely putting them on the map when it comes to college basketball. Brian Dutcher, such an awesome job with San Diego State, really putting the Mountain West on the map. The entire conference as a whole had never even put a team in the Elite Eight, and Brian Dutcher helped the Aztecs not only buck that trend, they're in the Final Four now, with possibly more to come. So remarkable job there for Coach Dutcher, Jim Larrañaga at Miami, and of course Dan Hurley at UConn. And I want to give some love first of all to Conference USA, which Florida Atlantic is a part of. So you have the Owls, which are Final Four bound. You have UAB and North Texas, who both made the NIT championship games. They won their respective semifinals last night. They will play Thursday for the fourth time this year. Both of them representing Conference USA. And then you also have Charlotte, who won the CBI tournament. So I wanted to give some love for that conference on the hardwood. I know UTSA, Western Kentucky, those schools kind of holding it down on the gridiron, the football side of things. But basketball, awesome job just done across the board in Conference USA. So I'm really looking forward to these matchups. We have San Diego State, Florida Atlantic at 5. About 7:45. Of course, this depends on how the first game goes. So the time could vary a little bit. You have UConn, Miami, and the nightcap around 7:45 Central Time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how those two games go and how the championship game goes. This has just been a crazy, insane NCAA tournament with upsets galore, buzzer beaters, finishes. Teams that you thought were going all the way were down. I had UConn in my Final Four. I also had Texas, Alabama, Marquette. Marquette fell in the round of 32. Bama fell in the round of 16. Texas fell in the Elite Eight. So I've had one fall every round here since. But for the 4 teams that are here, I feel like you can make a legitimate case that all 4 of them can win the national championship. Miami with the coach who's been here before, and Jim Larrañaga. UConn, the blue blood of the group, with their championship. The last time they've won is 2014, but they've had some recent woes where they've bowed out in the first round. So it's been a while since they've made it this far in the tournament. San Diego State with that suffocating defense, and then Florida Atlantic just want to run you off the court with their fast, explosive tempo in that offense. So you can really make a case for any of these 4, and I would buy it. So if I had to put down money for a prediction for a championship game, I would say UConn and San Diego State in the championship game, and I would have UConn winning it all. I just like UConn a little bit better right now, and I know San Diego State's really hard to bet against an elite defense like the Aztecs have had all year. Just if I had to put money down to give my picks, I would have UConn, San Diego State in the championship, and I'd have the Huskies winning it all for the first time since 2014. But it should be a heck of a tournament either way. To shift gears to the NFL, I want to talk Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. It's been widely known, and Lamar Jackson even on Twitter the last couple of days, which I personally think Lamar needs to cool it on the Twitter talk. But him and the Ravens still at an impasse. That non-exclusive tag that they pinned on him. Other teams can come in, offer 2 first-round picks for his services to offer him a contract, or they could go by the way of the Devontae Adams kind of situation where you had a franchise tag, and I think it was like a sign-and-trade type deal the Packers and the Raiders worked out. I know there's teams in the mix, and teams right away have said, we're not interested. We like our quarterback situation. Maybe he's not a great fit for our team, yada, yada. The Commanders came out and said, we like Sam Howell and we like Jacoby Brissett. I disagree with that. I think they could definitely use someone the caliber of Lamar Jackson, especially in a competitive NFC East where you have an explosive offense with the Cowboys. You had Jalen Hurts really break out this year and prove his worth with the Eagles. And then the Giants came along with Daniel Jones improved. And then you had Saquon Barkley really stay healthy and help navigate the Giants to their first playoff berth in a while. So that division is very competitive. So I don't see why the Commanders would right away just dismiss it. But I don't know. The Commanders have never really been the poster boy for a winning franchise recently, so I'm not surprised. One team I do want to keep my eye on, though, is the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have had quarterback issues for a long time now. There's not stability in the quarterback position. They hired Shane Steichen to come take over, and I'm guessing draft a quarterback. That way you have a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new system. You can kind of build around that and hope that the Colts, can mold and develop a young quarterback. But as we've seen in the AFC in the past, just few years, you need a dynamic, elite quarterback to guide you through the waters of the AFC and into the playoffs if you plan on becoming a successful franchise and want to win playoff games. You need an elite quarterback first and foremost, period, end of story. Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs, Joe Burrow with the Bengals, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Tua, Trevor Lawrence. If Aaron Rodgers hops onto the Jets, which we'll get to in a minute, by the way, you need a quarterback that can win you games, and Lamar Jackson, injury prone or not, wins you games. 44-16 record tells you that with Baltimore. So I just feel like the Ravens are not taking this as serious as they should. I don't know if you blow it up if you're the Ravens. You try and work out something in the last hour here, trying to make something work. But if I'm the Colts, I definitely make phone calls. You need stability at that quarterback position, from Phillip Rivers to Matt Ryan to Carson Wentz. You've had guys, just a revolving door of quarterbacks in and out every year. You need some stability. And if you want to offer, I don't know, a 3-year contract, or, maybe not something that's going to break the bank like the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed deal, which, I know that totally changed the landscape for quarterbacks. And may be a reason why the Ravens and Lamar are at an impasse here. But I think the Colts should definitely make a run at Lamar Jackson. That AFC South is very winnable. I mean, you had Trevor Lawrence come on in the second half of the year. You have the Titans who regressed despite Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill, you kind of don't know, if he's going to start regressing, or if they switch to Malik Willis. Willis had a lot of growing pains. When they put him in, then they quickly turned back around, and they regress. And then the Texans, they're the Texans. They're going to be a work in progress for a couple of years. I don't really think you're going to have to worry about them for the next 2 or 3 years at minimum. So if you're the Colts, this is a very winnable division. You can grab that division, and then, once you win the division, you're in the playoffs, and then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. But with Lamar Jackson in tow, you would kind of like your chances. So I just think you've got about 7 or 8 of the best quarterbacks in the AFC right now. 7 or 8 out of the entire league from the top 10 are residing in the AFC right now, and then that's not even factoring if Aaron Rodgers gets there. So I think the Colts absolutely need to make a run for it, and the Ravens, it would just be a serious misstep, I think, by management if they don't get this done and they let him walk, or they get a couple first-round picks. They at least get compensation for him. I just think the Ravens are going to have to be in retool, rebuild mode if they let him walk. Going to the Rodgers situation, the Packers and the Jets still seemed like they're working out compensation to get Aaron Rodgers to the Big Apple. Rodgers is going to have plenty of weapons on offense, and then he's got some defensive counterparts that can help, take the pressure off, maybe not having to score so many points. You got Sauce Gardner, a few young guys on that defense, and then plenty of offense. Garrett Wilson's come along, Breece Hall. So the Bills don't have the stranglehold that they thought they did, and that the rest of us thought they did. On the AFC, we saw that last year with the Dolphins when, the Bills didn't wrap up the division until very, very late in the season. You still have Bill Belichick and Mac Jones with the Patriots you have to account for. You figure they're not going to be at the top of the race, but you still have to give Bill Belichick the respect he deserves. You can't totally write them out just yet. So they need a proven winner at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers can do that. I know he did not have the offense that the Jets have as far as the young pieces go. He's going into the AFC, which the same argument with Lamar, and with the Colts and with a team that may make a run at Lamar Jackson. The Jets are in that same boat where you need a quarterback to take that next step. The Jets made some improvements last year, but with Zach Wilson regressing, and then they benched him, and then Joe Flacco and all that sort of thing. you need a constant at quarterback, and I think Aaron Rodgers can still give you that for a year or two, maybe 3 years. Who knows? I know he's getting up there in age, but he can give you that leadership, that stability, at least for a couple of years to help build that foundation. And that way, maybe Zach Wilson learns from him, or you draft another quarterback, and that quarterback learns from Rodgers, and then you have, that stepping stone. They can take the next step and challenge the Bills in the AFC East, or challenge the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Bills for that upper echelon in the AFC elite. So I think a deal will get done sooner rather than later would be preferable if you're the Packers and the Jets, because you need to figure out compensation and draft. It can throw off your draft strategy this close. We're about a month away from the draft, so if a deal gets done by then, they can at least know the pieces that are going, the pieces that are coming, and they can work accordingly around that for the draft. But I think a deal's got to get done here. The Packers would restart with Jordan Love, and then the Jets move forward with Aaron Rodgers. He, of course, follows in his predecessor's footsteps, Brett Favre, of course, leaving Green Bay and then playing for the Jets after he retired. So it remains yet to be seen, but I look for big things from the Jets next year, especially if Aaron Rodgers is under center. The last thing I want to touch up on, MLB Opening Day starts tomorrow. All 30 teams will be in action, I believe, for the first time. For the beginning of the season, all 30 teams will be in action across 15 games that span all day long. I'm an Astros fan, in case you can't tell the retro cap behind me, the Colt 45s. I like the Astros to reach the World Series again. I'm going to give my AL, NL picks, and then World Series. Astros, I know the Astros lost Justin Verlander. Jose Altuve's on the DL, 8 to 10 weeks for that injury, that hand injury, the broken hand in the World Baseball Classic. Then you were also without the services of Michael Brantley for the short term, but this was an injury last year that carried over into this year. And then you also have the Lance McCullers issue. He's got discomfort now. They say he's throwing pain-free now, but who knows? He's had an injury history. So you kind of have to factor that, he slides into your third, maybe fourth option at pitcher because of the injury durability concerns. But you still have Framber Valdez. He is a dominant pitcher. He showed you he is a workhorse. He's your ace. And then Christian Javier, I also am a huge fan of. He can be your solid number two. We saw what he did in the playoffs, and last year shut down the Yankees on several occasions, and just knows he can step up. He's Mr. Cool, man. He just knows how to get it done in high-pressure situations. So my 1-2, I'm not worried about. Jose Urquidy's had plenty of World Series playoff experience. He can get it done. Luis Garcia, of course, the pitch clock's gonna slow down the rock the baby routine, so he'll have some getting used to. And then Hunter Brown at the end of the rotation. Then they also brought in Jose Abreu at first base. Will give you a little more pop at that position, bat-wise. I know he's 36, but you signed him to a 3-year deal, so that gives you time to eventually find your first base successor there. But he'll give you more oomph in your lineup, especially with Altuve out. The Mets, another contender, signed Verlander from the Astros, and of course still have Mad Max, and lost Jacob deGrom. He went to Texas, to the Rangers. And then they also lost Edwin Diaz in the World Baseball Classic, that freak injury for Puerto Rico. He hurt his knee, and he's going to be out more than likely the entire season, so that's a huge blow to their bullpen. But I like the Mets. 100-game winner last year, tied for the division. And now you add someone the caliber of Justin Verlander. So him and Max Scherzer are going to be a solid 1-2 punch, possibly the best 1-2 punch in the league if Verlander plays anywhere close to last year. Then you've got the Phillies, World Series runner-up. They signed Trey Turner at shortstop, provide some pop there. They've still got Kyle Schwarber, but then you've got injury concerns there too. Bryce Harper, out for a while, probably at least until May, and then you had Rhys Hoskins go down. He's done likely for the year with an ACL injury, so that's a tough break for the Phillies. You've got the Padres, Fernando Tatis still suspended, but when he comes back, he's shifting over to right field because they brought in Xander Bogaerts. Then you've also got Manny Machado, Juan Soto, so you've got a ton of guys that can provide plenty of offensive spark. And then you got Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, to lead your rotation. So I like the Padres too. And then a team on the rise we saw last year, Of course, Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners. And then you've got a solid young rotation. I really like that rotation for the Mariners. You got George Kirby, Luis Castillo. They've got some young arms in that rotation and in that bullpen. And then Julio leading the way. So I really like the Mariners. They can keep it close this year, I think, with the Astros. They showed that and I know it was a first round sweep, but they showed they can keep up with the Astros and perhaps even challenge Houston in the AL West. And then, of course, you've got the Angels, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. We'll see if they can finally get over that hump and make the playoffs. So it's going to be a very interesting long slog to the season. 162 games. Lots of big names shuffling this year. A ton of big names moving around. So we're going to see what teams separate themselves, but it's going to, of course, be a process. For my World Series pick, I already, I shared the Astros. I like the Astros until you beat them. Like Ric Flair quoted, the great Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. The Astros know how to get it done in the regular season. They know how to sustain themselves, take care of their player health. They tinker with the lineup. They know how to stretch guys all the way into the playoffs. They have the bullpen. They have the horses to get it done. The kick at offense with Abreu, and then you've still got, of course, the maturation of Jeremy Pena, last year's World Series MVP. He's in his second year now, so you think he would factor even more into the regular season. And then I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres in the NL. I know Tatis is injured, but they've got the horses on offense and the rotation pitching-wise. Jake Cronenworth's also another name that I want to throw out there for the Padres that can contribute. They've just got a lot of offense. And I know they're in the loaded NL West, but the Dodgers, I feel, regressed with Turner leaving them. I know the Dodgers, I think, have the superior starting rotation, but it's just the playoffs. It's just whether Clayton Kershaw and those guys can get it done in the playoffs. So big question mark for LA there. And with the departures of some big names, Justin Turner also left too. I've just got to go with the Padres. I'm going to go Astros-Padres World Series, and I'm going to say Houston goes back-to-back. They are ready to reign, and they get it done in the World Series. They go back-to-back. So that's the main thing I wanted to touch up on, the Final Four. Ravens and Lamar Jackson saga, the Aaron Rodgers, Packers, Jets love triangle, and then MLB opening day and opening weekend. I will try and do this twice a week. I want to shoot for Wednesdays and Saturdays, maybe like a 20, 30-minute pod. Just to touch up on the big events going on around the week. I know NBA playoffs is going to set to kick off in a couple of weeks, so I definitely want to preview some of those first-round series when that gets started, and the play-in tournament gets started before that. And then we can dive into the aftermath of the Final Four and how opening day and opening weekend starts out. So feel free to like and share our page. Like us on all the socials. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're now on TikTok. I like to post the funnies on TikTok and make fun of teams and make fun of myself along the way. So I like to have fun. So we're on Facebook, Twitter as well. So feel free to like, share, subscribe our page. We want to grow our sports community. We hope you help us do the same. We love sports. I love to talk sports. So anytime, feel free, shoot us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think of our pages. Comment, say I'm dumb. I can go to hell. Do whatever you want. Any and all comments more than appreciated. So we'll see you guys hopefully on Saturday. This is the beginning of hopefully a weekly episodic thing. We start to get the ball rolling. So Louis with Gameday Sports signing off. We will see you guys next time. We love sports.